Darkness kills, destroys the will. Find a spark, make hearts thrill. Hear the tales of time so grim. Shine a light, don't let it dim. Heather Brown downtown, bound. True crime story she's found. In the shadows, secret stay. Need a light that finds the way.
Welcome back to another episode of Defeating the Darkness, True Crime Stories with Downtown Heather Brown. That's me, your host. I'm a former homicide and sexual assault prosecutor here in Orange County. And today is our episode 2 with Martha Nix Wade, who's back with us to finish her story. So if you haven't listened to her backstory, you got to stop the tape and go back and listen to the first episode with Martha Wade, who is telling us all about all the things that she's overcome in her life and that got her to the point where she found her life's purpose. And so, Martha, on the last episode, welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
On the last episode, you were talking to us about all these amazing things, from being a child actress to being a survivor of sexual abuse from your parents' best friend, and having stood up for yourself at age 17 in the movie industry or the TV industry, and basically telling one of the executive producers, hands off, don't be so handsy with me. And you were blackballed in that business. And from there, you were in a foreign country when some people, that missionaries you were with, got kidnapped. I mean, you've been through a lot. Zip line.
Do you have a white suit I could borrow so I can act that out?
Yes. Yeah, you are small enough. Yeah.
Whoa, she just said I'm small enough to match tattoos. Suit. Wow.
Yes. And now the neighbors are edging. Anyway, Pete, my producer, who's amazing. And not only is Pete amazing, I got to talk to you just for a second, listeners, about Pete's son, Jaden, who, for those of you who've inquired and told me that you love the song at the beginning of the podcast, Jaden, age 14, wrote and produced that song for this show in particular. So hats off to Jaden Campbell. Badass producer, writer,
sound guy. He's the assistant producer on the Defeating the Darkness. And as I was saying, is Pete Campbell is my producer, and he is amazing. And that's why the quality and the sound is so good. And you can hear every bird and every dog and every plane and gardener in town while we're filming. But anyway, get over it. That's what you get for us being outside in this beautiful setting, right? Yep.
We're in nature. So you were telling us about so many things. So after you discovered, or I would say unpacked, what had happened to you when you were younger, you had a bout of darkness in your life where you even at one point contemplated suicide. And you told the listeners last episode how you had an experience, an encounter, if you will, with Jesus, and you never had that thought again to take your own life. And then you suffered the loss of your son. And how old was your son when he died?
Ryder was 18.
Oh my gosh. So your son Ryder dies at age 18 in a motorcycle accident?
Yes. He was leaving water polo practice from Concordia University in Irvine.
Oh my heavens. Like, every parent's worst nightmare came true.
Yes.
And how old were you when that happened?
It's 4 years ago, so 53.
This is relatively recent.
Yeah.
And you lost your husband?
Last year, yes.
So you've been through a lot in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. You're incredibly strong and have a beautiful spirit to have overcome all the things that you have in your life. And you were just touching upon how it was that you were able to overcome these things, from the grief of the loss of your son. And I'm assuming you had to apply those same principles and techniques to get over the loss of your husband recently. Not that we ever really get over it, but we certainly move forward from it and can heal from the grief. But all of these things that you've encountered in your life and overcome made you who you are today. I think that's where we left off. So tell the listeners, once, I'm assuming though you started your life's purpose a long time ago, right?
So after the abuse became public,
And how did it become public?
so who was my high school pastor was in family ministries, and he asked if anybody had acted inappropriately toward me, and they did an internal investigation, which the one thing I would encourage, and he agrees, is that they wish as soon as they had the first victim, they would have gone to the police to do their investigation. But they were in uncharted territory. You know, they didn't really have a model to follow. So they spent the summer investigating and found 10 of us. And then they confronted him and he denied it. And then they brought in the counseling pastor who had a relationship with him because he worked in counseling. And he again denied it. And then the senior pastor at the time was on sabbatical. And it's Chuck Swindoll, he's a notable person in the evangelical faith. You know, he's written tons upon tons of books. And Chuck said, what you did is immoral, illegal, and ungodly, and we are excommunicating you this Sunday. And I actually have Doug Haig, who was the pastor who brought it out on my podcast that should be launching soon, so that churches have a model of what to follow and, you know, the struggles they went through, you know, personally finding this out, that here's a major church leader that most people just admired so much for all that he had done during his life, that they just didn't see the opposite side of what he was doing. And so it just really wrecked their world. So it was a tremendous time of healing, though, where they got a lien on his home to pay for our therapy. So we didn't have to pay for our own therapy. My clinician, she did say, I want you to have an investment in your healing. What can you do? And at the time I was in my master's program, and I said, $5. And she goes, okay, bring $5 every week. So I paid $5 for each of my sessions. And that's really where the model was set on how A Quarter Blue wanted to work. A Quarter Blue is a trauma recovery center for all victims of crime. Unless they could have been a victim but became a perpetrator, we don't see them. However, we're specialists in sexual assault, domestic violence, murder. We do see people who have experienced suicide, even though that's not deemed criminal in nature. It's the same principles. There's that severe loss and grief. And so we will walk alongside of people who are surviving members of a family who have experienced suicide. But we didn't want people to pay for their therapy. And because they're already losing so much out of time, you know, that may be multiple doctor's appointments because of whatever damage was done by the crime, or taking off work to go to all of these different court proceedings, and just, you know, you show up and then it's not happening. And it's just constant where there's loss of income, or you're having to put out money for different things. And so we wanted our services to be free for victims of crime.
That's amazing. And the name of this recovery trauma center is trauma. Am I saying it wrong?
Trauma Recovery Center. Yeah.
TRC. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Okay. So, but the name of this is called A Quarter Blue, which is why we're wearing blue and why you have blue hair, I'm assuming, and blue lashes.
Exactly. I'm a billboard.
I love the billboard. And just briefly, so it's called A Quarter Blue, and tell us what the meaning behind the name is.
So I wanted people to ask to start the conversation. So it represents a quarter of children who will be left blue, meaning severely sad, from sexual assault. However, Prevention is key in protecting kids from this crime. It's believed that 95% of sexual assault is preventable through education. So A Quarter Blue does provide education tools. We have various books you can see on our website at aquarterblue.org. They're downloadable, or you could ask for them and send a donation for us to mail them to you. But we want to start that conversation and prevent this crime. However, when the crime does occur, we are the Trauma Recovery Center because early intervention is key to restoration. We want people to have the experience to walk through the trauma so that they learn how to be resilient and ultimately restored and live a restored life, not one that is solely defined by the trauma that they endured, but that they can thrive and learn how to live above that. You know, a lot of people say survivors of crime or survivors of sexual assault or survivors of, and we want people to live well beyond that survival mode. We want them to live one that's victorious and thriving and where they become a force to be reckoned with because of what they've learned how to overcome. And so we really want to provide our services free of charge, including, court advocacy, because the court system is very challenging, even if you're not experiencing trauma that you or your loved one has just been violated. So our court advocate is amazing, and we do social work. We help them with case management, emergency assistant, and therapy. That is the model. But the challenge that's just occurred is
It's like a one-stop shopping
That is
for
what we want.
victims of
crime.
trauma. Crime.
Crime.
So it has to be a crime,
There has
except
to
for
have been
the
a crime.
exception of suicide.
Suicide, correct. So,
And this, okay, you are the founder of this.
yes.
So that's basically what you did with the pain and the victory over all of those things that you went through, was to turn it and use it for a greater good and find your purpose in life.
I first started, for a millisecond, the why me. And then I'm like, this is counterproductive. It is me. So what am I going to do about it?
I love that.
And so at first I sat down to write my book, and then I gave it to 2 different authors to read and let me know their thoughts. And both of them were radio silent. And so that negative Nancy that's inside of me at times was like, see, you suck as a writer, because I had a high school teacher who just tried to destroy me as a writer. And that's a whole nother story. But she pulled my byline after this article I wrote that was the front page. They used it and they had space. And I said, well, where's the byline? We'll talk about it later. We know you didn't write this. Your mom wrote it. How do you know my mom writes? Like, what? And so that inner wounded child that the teacher tried to, signs me. I thought the same thing. I suck at writing. They're not talking to me about my book because, no, I just needed time to learn about myself. So 10 years later, I picked up and I read my book and I went, oh yeah, you didn't really know anything. So then I rewrote my book and it's right there.
And the name of your book is called My Secret Life, A Truthful Look at a Child Actor's Victory Over Sexual Abuse by Martha Nix Wade. This is the book. And where can our listeners find this book?
So it is on aquarterblue.org. So they could order it there.
Quarterblue.org.
And we would send it there. I encourage you not to go to other sites because I don't know who's getting the money from those sales. And if you buy this one from aquarterblue.org, it'll go directly to helping those people whom we see at A Quarter Blue.
Oh, I love that. And so your life story's in here?
That is. It takes you through my innocence, from being a victim to victor to a brat, which brat means boldly resolving abuse together. And we want everyone to live a victorious life, but stepping into the realm of advocacy, and that does take a special calling, because a lot of people will say hurtful things to you, just thinking they're being cheeky or, and it's really inappropriate and not called for, but it's just people's coping mechanism with the tough subjects that I deal in. And so a lot of people that had shut them down. We did have a therapist once when she did an outreach event with us, and she turned in her resignation. Afterwards, she goes, I can't have people look at me like that. It's like my mom looking at me all over again. And I just this is not me. I can't. So being a brat is a calling, but being a victor should be everyone who's experienced crime. It is yours to have. You just need to have the tools to be able to get there.
And you and your team provide those tools at A Quarter Blue. And
Yes.
it's a nonprofit, so it doesn't cost anybody any money.
So right now, so we haven't talked about what's happening right now.
Yeah,
So,
no, I want to get to it. That's why
Yes.
I'm talking about the money.
So that is our desire. We had a psychologist and a nurse practitioner psychiatrist on our staff. I have had to let them go. We wanted truly the one-stop shop. But in March, the state California Victim Compensation Board cut 100% of our funding, which for us was 65% of our funding. And so we are having to figure out what do we do with this lack of revenue. The Trauma Recovery Center model is supposed to be $1 million annually. And we have brought our budget way down where we need $69,000 a month, but we're even functioning under that. But with 10 people serving our crime survivors at A Quarter Blue, that takes revenue. And if we want them to really invest in their own healing, they need people on the outside coming alongside of them to say, let me walk with you figuratively through my donation and support you during this time. And so we're really looking to the private sector to stand in that gap, because whether it be the California Victim Compensation Board or other grants, it's not a secure funding resource. Grants are present one year, not the next. And with the California Victim Compensation Board money, this grant cycle, there was $18 million for the course of 2 years. They cut 6 trauma recovery centers, A Quarter Blue being one of them. And if you look at a map of where the trauma recovery centers are, you have a cluster in Los Angeles, a cluster in San Diego, and then nothing. We were serving that whole gap.
There's only one trauma recovery center
in Orange County.
And that's you.
And that's us.
Quarter Blue.
And they cut the only trauma recovery center in Orange County. And what was $18 million this year is supposed to be only $4 million next year. So they're going to cut even more trauma recovery centers. And it's extremely concerning. And we'd love for the government to re-look at their budget and see that crime survivors, victims of crime, deserve our investment in their healing. So we don't see, perpetual problems, that these systemic problems from unresolved trauma. And yet over $800 million goes for mental health services for those incarcerated. And yet through this grant, there's only $18 million for trauma recovery centers for victims of crime.
So we spend $800 million on the people who actually commit the crimes upon the children. And then there's obviously a zillion left out there that we don't know about.
Right.
And then did you say $4 million? Oh,
So next year it will be $4 million through this grant avenue.
For the actual victim.
But you have California Victim Compensation Board, which is in place to reimburse for services. So we can send our bills into them, but they turn down tens of thousands of applications for services that we have already given. The last time we billed California Victim Compensation Board for the therapy we were had given, all of our applications and our invoices were just denied.
What was the basis of their denial?
There was always an excuse. There was always an excuse.
It's crazy.
And we have a systemic problem that needs to be looked at, is how are we going to serve victims of crime in their healing process? And I'd love for it to happen at the government level to some point, but I would prefer if it came from the private sector, because typically when people invest their monies into a program, let's call it, they stand by it, until they pass away. And our team would be able to do the real work and not be fretting about if we're going to have our doors open. because that's our reality right now.
And that's a big problem for you right now, right?
It's a huge problem. That's one reason why we started a campaign with our t-shirts of Save Orange County's only trauma recovery center. And we want to get them on people's bodies. And at the Orange International Street Fair, we'll be on Children's Street, where we really are looking at prevention of crime for kids. But we'll have the t-shirts there. You can get them on our website. It's a $45 donation and we'll mail them to you. But we want to start this conversation where people will be like, why are we not investing in the healing of victims of crime who live in our state, where the crime took place in their state?
And there's so many of them. There's so many of them, from, the sexual abuse to murder to, domestic violence.
Well, and most people whom we see for domestic violence, they were sexually abused and did not receive the help that they deserved or needed. And I have a question for you. You dealt in homicide and sexual assault, so you saw victims of crime every day.
Every day for 24 years.
So why do you think, from your perspective and working alongside of them, that they need mental health services that don't cost them at least $150 every week for one family member?
Yeah, most people just cannot afford it. Even when you have double income and you're like, it's going to cost me $200 an hour to see a therapist, once a week. That's $800 a month. That's more than, most car payments.
And that's only one family member getting service.
Exactly. And sometimes the whole entire family, like if someone was murdered and there's a whole family there, you're right. It's just, and so multiply that times however many survivors.
And in sexual assault, what we see, we typically see the child who was the victim of sexual assault less. They seem to be more resilient. It's the mom, the dad, and the siblings who require more therapy than the actual primary victim, is what we say. Secondary and primary is what we see. And a family cannot afford therapy. And they might not even be able to afford the gas to get to therapy.
100%. And I'm not dodging your question. You had asked me a question that I did not answer because I started talking about how expensive it is. About why it's so important for crimes, victims of crime to seek therapy and to get the help that they need. Well, there's many reasons why it's probably the most valuable thing that you could do is to get therapy if you've been a victim of crime. And it's not just the victim who's affected, and it's not just their immediate family who's affected, but it is let's say, a perpetrator abuses a family member, let's say a niece, and she's got siblings and the mom and dad are betrayed. And then every other person in that family suffers the trauma from the relatives of the perpetrator, right? And then all of those people, what do we do with trauma, right? We stuff it in our bodies, right? We talked about this, I think off camera, but the book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's the last episode that we spoke about it, but the body does keep score. And I don't think a lot of people realize the true, you can stuff secrets or darkness or things that have happened to you inside, but it finds its way out. And even before it finds its way out, it eats at your insides.
I know a lot of people who were victims of sexual assault as a child and did not get help and did not, if you stuff it, it's going to fester and do something. And I've met people who are not able to have children, who have irritable bowel syndrome, who have eating disorders, who have gotten cancer, that I believe unresolved trauma just festers in some way. And the ACE score talks about that. The adverse childhood experience talks about how doctors see these children or adults, and if they spend time with them, they realize that their unresolved childhood trauma is actually why they're in their office for heart failure, obesity, and all these different physical ailments is actually can pinpoint back to unresolved trauma.
If you heal your mind, you can heal your body. And I don't think there's any truer words like that could be spoken, because everything stems from your mind, and the power of the human mind is so great, right? From where we spiral, on a thought, and, that's what you focus on. What you focus on grows bigger. So if you focus your mind on good, positive, loving things, your faith, the Lord, just wonderful, pure, good things, that's what your body is going to, exude.
And brain scans are showing the restorative properties of our brain, that you could see that there's trauma, but you could see when it's been healed.
Yes.
And it's remarkable.
It's mind-boggling. So back to your question. Okay. So we're talking about like my example of a sexual abuse survivor and the trauma of them, but you have every one of those people who were affected just by that one crime, right? Some of them might go on to be perpetrators themselves, right? And so then you start a whole nother ripple effect of other people who are affected. Let's say you grew up in a home with domestic violence, right? And you watched your dad beat your mom, your whole life. There's a higher probability that you're going to engage in that type of behavior because that's what was modeled to you.
Absolutely.
And even if you think I would never be that a-hole or whatever, psychologically, our subconscious craves that same feeling. It's like when people watch their parents, their dad beat their mom and think, I'll never be with a man who hits me. And then weirdly enough, they end up with a slugger themselves. It's because psychologically, you don't even know this is happening, but you're drawn to the energy or the feeling that you felt, even though it was bad. It's what you're used to. It's what your psyche's used to. It's all you know. So you are inevitably drawn to those kind of men, if you will, or women, because there are women abusers as well. But back to it, and it's not just that. And then you think about how many, survivors of some crime end up with anxiety, depression, like you said, eating disorders, alcoholism, drug use. That's a huge one, right? And so there's so many, it's just the devastation that's left in the wake of crime is astronomical. And it sickens me to think that we're giving more money to the people who are perpetrating those crimes and to house them and feed them and even restore them. Right? Because a ton of the money that goes to the prisons and the prison system goes towards rehabilitation efforts and, all the classes and the things that they can do, the restorative justice programs. And I'm not saying they're bad.
Right.
And I think they're necessary and valuable and can help people. But I also think if you're going to spend $800 million or whatever you said on them, why aren't we not spending quadruple that amount on the victims of those people?
Right.
And you're right. I think, we cannot rely on the government to help us. I think we as human beings need to help each other. We need to, stand alongside each other, and like it takes a village. And I think we're, all the people listening, like you're the village too. If this stuff outrages you, and it doesn't have to be your organization, but it would be great. But a Quarter Blue here in Orange County, but anywhere you are listening and there's, victims of crime out there who need help, they need to heal because it's such a ripple effect. I mean, even when we think about just like, let's say, so I was sexually abused, right? And I have healed from my childhood trauma, and the tequila goes a long way. I'm just kidding. But I joke. It's not funny, but let's just say though, I hadn't healed, right? It affects your relationships, right? Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, when my daughter becomes the age that I was when I was sexually abused, all of a sudden, all those secrets and hidden trauma, that I've kept inside comes out it manifests itself in a different way. And so now my family relationship, my whole family unit's altered because of my trauma years ago.
Right.
And all of a sudden now, like my husband's dissatisfied because, maybe I don't want to have sex because I was sexually abused and the trauma from that has come back. And now, and so now all of a sudden my husband, we're disenfranchised within the marriage. And then now he's suffering. And then that might cause him to become angry, right? Because his needs aren't being met. And even relationally, never mind sexually, right? And so then he's like, being angry towards my daughter. And so my daughter all of a sudden this is all hypothetical. It's not really my family. But then all of a sudden my daughter has like stomach issues because she's got anxious thoughts because she's living in this like friction, this home filled with friction. And it just goes on and on and on.
Right.
And then maybe because she's feeling one way, or my son, he's bullying a kid at school or something. So like the ripple effect is astronomical. And if we could just help with prevention to stop this from happening, sexual abuse is a huge part of the victims that your trauma center
Yes.
sees.
It's the majority of whom we see.
Okay, so you have so many sexual assault victims. And the whole reason you called it a quarter blue is because a quarter, right? That's 1 in 4 people. And that's just who we know. And then there's a huge percentage of people, more don't tell than do
Right.
tell.
A lot of people, use other statistics, but anytime I've gone out and spoken, and there was a meeting I did once, and a woman stood up after I spoke. She goes, she knows what she's talking about. You never knew it, but I'm a victim. And then just one by one, people started standing up at the meeting. It was very powerful. And, a lot of people will say something to the effect of 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 7 guys. I don't think there's a difference. I think with guys, there's a greater stigma, so we know about less of them.
Yeah.
And the problem is when a guy is molested by a girl, they are told, attaboy, you learn from the best of them. Or if they're a straight male and they're molested by a guy, there's no way they're going to come out and say anything about it quite often. So I think the numbers in what I've experienced are equal. And like you said, and there's so many people who have never come forward, who may never come forward. I was talking to a woman this week, and she said, by talking to you, I've learned that I'm a secondary victim. She goes, she had heard a rumor from somebody that her mom was sexually assaulted, and her mom still doesn't remember, has like shut it down, will not talk about it. And she goes, I've realized everything that I've struggled with in my upbringing is because I'm a secondary victim. And like her life is starting to make sense to her. But it's to your point. It doesn't just stop with the victim. It is a ripple effect that affects family systems in the immediate family. And then especially if it's a family member, it's going to be the all holidays and beyond.
It affects everyone. And some people don't, like, let's say you're a 19-year-old boy and you meet a girl and you're in love or whatever, and like she gets raped on the way home, right? Like that just affects so many people. It might like thwart her entire college career. Like she doesn't want to go back to school because something happened. I mean, like, there's so many effects from mental health to physical ailments. Let's say if you become an alcoholic, now all of a sudden you're taxing our medical system, right?
Right.
Because you have to, get all these treatments. Maybe you need a new liver, or you eat too much and you become obese and then you get diabetes and now you're on insulin. And so like the cost.
Or you're so overcome with grief and confusion that you can't hold a job.
There's that too. I mean, if you could think about a zillion scenarios that it truly does affect so many people. Even if you're a shopaholic, don't listen to this one, Tom Brown. But let's say, because I do love to shop and my husband hates it, but I love it. I'm not going to stop. So maybe he should listen to this. No, I'm just saying, but some people shop, right? So then financially it could affect your family. It's just not affecting mine. I'm fine. But you know what I'm saying? There's so many different ways that being a victim of crime, and for me, my passion obviously is sexual abuse, and trying to prevent it. And I know that's your passion too. All victims of crime, I care about them too. But I'm just saying, you are doing these amazing things with this organization. And I think if more people would come alongside, trauma recovery centers like yours and help just even, to support them in any way that they can, that we could hopefully, possibly, especially with prevention,
at least put a dent in this.
Right. I mean, it's going to take time to, see the quantitative change. It's going to take time. I mean, one of my, I'll say success stories has taken 20 years. Our newest board member.
Oh, sorry. How long has this been around? How long has
22 years.
Oh, wow.
That's when I started. So originally, we were education based. I didn't want to get in the nonprofit sector because I know how challenging it is. And so I thought if I go out and speak on prevention and tell my story and encourage people to start the healing process from the honorariums for speaking, I can fund this. Nobody wanted to talk about it. So to get people to pay for me to talk about it was like, no way, no how. So we ultimately became a nonprofit, and it just kind of kept growing per the need. And, now we need court advocates to help people navigate the judicial system. We really need a psychiatrist because we can do all this, multiple ways of healing, talk therapy, play therapy, all these different realms. But some people need help because there's a chemical imbalance that's not enabling them to put into practice the coping mechanisms they're being taught. And so we really want to bring back where they can have us as a one-stop shop. But
so you want to bring back a psychiatrist and a
psychologist. So the psychologist would provide more of the testing element, where for diagnosis, if we're not a clear diagnosis, there are tests in place that can help bring about a more accurate diagnosis and help with more of the brain health challenges that we see. Right now, I just honestly want to hold on to my therapist and my court advocate and secure that. So then we can reestablish the psychiatrist and the psychologist. But we need people who want to invest in the healing of others so that we can.
Did you hear that, listeners? If you want to invest in the healing of others here in Orange County, you're just in Orange County, right?
So
I mean just, but because that's a lot. But
81% of our clients live in Orange County.
Okay.
But with telehealth, we can see people from north to south of California. All of the therapy does have to be residents in California.
Does it have to be a reported criminal case?
So right now, with the cuts and us trying to bill California Victim Compensation Board, it has to be a crime that's been reported and happened in the last 7 years.
Okay. So
that's not who we really want to be. That's who we need to be right now per the state's cuts. So ultimately, we'd like to go back to, because I wouldn't have been able to qualify.
Right. Because your abuse had happened more than 7 years
Right.
before you were able
right. I would not be able to be
disclose it.
a client at a Court of Blue.
And most people don't report sexual abuse right away.
No, it
So-
takes time and a sense of security. I had someone in my life that I felt was not going anywhere, and he didn't. We were married 30 years.
Yay.
But yeah, there's a lot of reasons we keep quiet. There is a stigma. People can say we're beyond that, but I believe there's still a stigma. And I wish there weren't. But I mean, that's part of the challenge of people investing in a Court of Blue's work. I think some people believe if they don't give, it basically says it doesn't exist. And if they give, I mean, I've had someone told, "Oh, are you doing this event for a Court of Blue because you were sexually abused? You did an art show to benefit us." And he's like, "No, I'm doing it because I care." And so some people just say, "Oh, if you're giving to a Court of Blue, you must have been a victim of sexual assault, or you must have been a victim of crime."
I never even thought about that in terms of the donors. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't think that, but.
Well, a lot of people give to something that's close to their heart, such as, their parent had experienced, their mom had experienced breast cancer.
Or Alzheimer's, or someone died of leukemia. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is something, and I've had people say to me, I had someone say to me, "Oh, you want to have a coffee clutch, but I only know 2 people who are abused. So there'll only be 2 people at it. So it's not worth our time." I'm like, So we should only care if we've been a victim of sexual abuse.
Yeah. That was,
Why don't we just care about people who have had something horrific happen to them that was not their fault, and their family don't have the means to, I mean, what family honestly has, $500 a week for each family member to see a therapist?
Yeah.
We can't. And so we don't. And so if everyone just, gave a bit and held on for the long-term success. And that was what I was going to share, is that Vince is our latest board member, and he was the first person whom I helped. At that point, it was just me. And I don't even remember how he found me, or his family found me. And he was sexually assaulted by a guy whom they met at church. There were, I believe, 9 John Does in the case. And I walked through his healing journey, where he had just reported it to the police, through where he wanted to end his life. I was the phone call, and to getting the best text ever, guilty. I was there on sentencing
I do have
day.
to say that's one of my favorite words.
Oh, it's the best.
That and allegedly.
But that's my least favorite word.
Oh, I get why. But I say it in the terms of, when my husband
Do you throw up quotes?
is that a new blouse? I'm like, allegedly. Like, prove it, buddy. Until I see the receipt and the tag.
Okay, different context.
Yes, I say it.
Not that I'm narrowly focused on one thing.
Like, I called you. You must have. I'm like, allegedly. I say it more as a joke word than criminal allegedly. No.
Yeah. Well, we've had a case where, because he committed suicide, he'll always be alleged, not guilty.
Oh, I know. I had a case where a guy killed himself after I convicted him, but he was never sentenced, and the defense attorney tried to argue that it didn't count. I'm like, I got the death penalty, baby. It counted.
Yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately for those victims in that case, their world is wrecked. If I hadn't have told, he would still be alive, just that whole challenge. But Vince is one of my success stories, and it took 20 years to, that full
So
circle.
you helped him, and now he's on your board of directors?
Yes.
Oh, I love Vince.
Yeah. Oh, Vince is phenomenal.
Vince is the best. And
Yes.
he's on your board of directors of A Court of Blue?
Yeah, as of about 3 weeks ago.
God
yes.
bless you, Vince. I love that.
Yes, he put in the work, and now he's a dad, and he's an amazing dad, amazing husband, and he put in the work.
So if somebody right now, okay, did we give the website quarterblue?
But we'll give it again.
Yeah, give it
If
again.
you look here, it's on the shirt, quarterblue.org.
Quarterblue.org.
Yes.
And right now their funding has been cut, and we need your help. But if, let's say, I'm a victim of a crime in the last 7 years here in Orange County, or even in California, I can call,
Right.
and then just take me through what that looks like.
So they call 714-932-0845. I will ask the question if they were a victim in the last 7 years. As of now, hopefully that won't be long term, because y'all are going to step up and get
Exactly.
And then literally
Can we do a GoFundMe?
we could try again, but we haven't on this round. But
I mean, you might as well throw the book at this thing, right?
let's go. So,
Bake sale, car wash,
well, we have
tequila tasting.
we have 2 fundraisers coming up.
Oh.
So September 27th is game night, and it's with actors, artists, and athletes. So one, if you know an actor, artist, or athlete who you think would like to come and lead the games, and the guests.
Do they have to be famous, or just?
Yes.
There goes my son. Sorry. Well, he's kind of famous.
He will be.
He's definitely going to be
Yeah.
famous.
So, we could sit him next to Jackie Slater, a Hall of Famer, and, have him rub elbows.
Yeah.
So they will play games with different groupings of celebrities, and it's just a really fun.
I want to come.
folky
Can I
night.
come?
Please.
Okay.
Yes, September 27th.
All right. I'm in.
In San Juan Capistrano.
Oh, I'm really in.
You're really in. And then, and both are contingent also upon, we're going through with game night, but we really do need sponsors. But we have the secured space. We had that donated to us, and all the actors are donating their time,
I love
And-
that.
athletes and artists. And then February 7th is celebrating America's 250th with White House chefs.
Oh.
So we're looking for the location right now. And the 2 White House chefs will teach the chefs of wherever we are these meals that are served at the White House. I know they're doing Bananas Foster's, which is Barbara Bush's, First Lady Barbara Bush's specialty was Banana Foster.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they will also do a cooking demo. And they will tell hilarious stories about their time serving the presidents of the United States.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to go to that one too. What's
Oh.
that one?
That's February 7th.
Okay, mark your calendars, people. And
yes.
if I want to register for this, I go on the website of aquarterblue.org.
So
.org?
we have this tickets for
Yes.
sale for game night because that everything's set there on where it is. We've just secured the chefs, and we're trying to secure sponsors and the location for celebrating 250 years of America.
Well, I love this.
So yeah, that's what's in store for fundraising. But those good old fashioned donations that just come with no strings attached, we plug it straight into helping serve victims of crime at A Quarter Blue. And while we do therapy only for clients in California, our trainings have gone worldwide. So, for example, in India and Ohio, there was one person who spearheaded it, and they got the service organizations to pay for me to go out there. And I did art processing in schools and domestic violence shelters. I trained first responders. I did a seminar on grief at the library. And I said, if you bring me out to your state to do your trainings or to provide processing it through art, that's one of our specialties is art processing. Use me. Fill up the schedule while I'm there. And so that can go worldwide. We've also done it in India. Like people say, oh, can you come to Indiana? I said, if I go to India, I can go to Indiana. We're good. So those can go anywhere because with our staff, they are limited to serve people in California. But I am personally and intentionally not a therapist on purpose. I am a former victim of sexual assault who is a survivor, a thriver, and a victor, and I want to be used to help others, and that can go worldwide.
I love that. That's the whole reason I brought you on here, was to tell everybody about this crisis, but more importantly, to just shine the light on you, because I think you're amazing. I think what you've done with everything that's happened to you along the way and how you are a victor and how you've use that to find your life's purpose and help other people is just really incredible and powerful and inspiring.
Thank you.
And I respect the hell out of you. And I think, not that there was any hell in you, but you know what I mean? The heck out of you. Do you have heck? I think you got some, I think she's got some heck.
She's a big toe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a little firecracker. Okay. Is there anything else we need to know?
Well, I mean, just an extension of, if you will, my services.
Oh, wait, back up. We didn't finish talking about what would happen if I call you and you find out it's been within 7 years. I mean, I'm the one that distracted you from our train of thought. Sorry. Squirrel.
Jaden. Oh, wait.
Exactly.
So they call, and I'm going to ask if they were a victim in the last 7 years. And if there's a police report. If there's not a police report, I'm going to help walk them through that. And we will, I would take their name, phone number, email, and times of availability. Then they go on our wait list. That's another tough part, is right now we have a wait list of 30 because we can't hire. We're just trying to sustain the work that we're doing.
Underfunded, understaffed,
Yes.
and too many people that need your services.
Absolutely. And because, I mean, unfortunately, I'd love to work myself out of a job because our prevention aspect is working. But the reality is there are so many victims of crime who want help, and they're unfortunately sitting on our wait list right now.
Oh.
waiting for someone who either finishes and is doing great, or just chooses not to invest in their own healing, or doesn't call us back. So I take their time availability, and then it depends on how long the wait list is, but it could be 2 to 3 weeks where they will be called by our clinician who does our intake. They will do an intake either on the phone, online, or in person. Always is better if it's in person, but we understand it's not possible because we do serve the whole state, or for some, transportation is difficult. They don't have the gas money. And we had, through the California Victim Compensation Board, $120,000 in emergency assistance, where we could pay for them to get to our office, or to go buy groceries, or to pay their rent. But that ended June 30th. So that money was dried up then. So now we don't have that fund for emergency assistance. So right now, we may see an increase in telehealth because that doesn't cost them money except their internet. And then after their intake, with their availability, we say, please give us as much availability that you have so that when an opening happens, we can pair you with a therapist who can start seeing you as soon as possible. So it's pretty easy, I think.
And then they get therapy. And then what other services? Because don't you have resources there at your center?
So because of our current financial crisis, that's our reality.
Yes.
We really would like to hold on to our victim advocate, because that is an aspect that is so desperately needed. Because, I mean, to learn how to do a restraining order, to go before, and each judge is unique on what they like and they don't like.
I'll say.
And so our victim advocate knows the idiosyncrasies of the judges in 3 counties. I mean, she's been a student of that for many years. And so she'll go, this judge doesn't want to see you cry. So do your best not to cry. Just give the facts. This judge, and she's educating them while they're just sit there and listen. Just let him or her dig their own hole. That's what this judge is waiting for, and she guides them through this whole process, because most of our clients don't go to court for the crime, the actual criminal proceedings. It's in family court, for reunification therapy, all these dependency court, or for restraining orders. That's where most of our time is spent, in court. And they really do so much better. And the kids and the families are better protected when her name's Marcy with Emmy's Place is alongside of them. And I would love to be able to continue to provide those finances for her services.
And
so that
clone
she
her,
can
because I imagine there's so many people that she's helping.
Yes, because we do have victim advocates with Waymakers, and they're great, but their caseload is enormous, as you know.
I do know. Yeah.
And they just can't provide that personal service that we're able to at A Quarter Blue, or we have been able to with Marcy. And I want to continue to do that, because Waymakers is great in what they provide, but they have so much more. Their caseloads could be between 100 and 200 people, and they simply just are overworked.
Yeah. And just for our listeners, Waymakers is a victim assistance program that you can use through the county, right?
They serve the county, but I believe they are also a 501c3.
Oh, they are.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
But they have a lot of county contracts. But I mean, they're another agency that's, there have been funding cuts. Most people think the funding cuts are all at the federal level, or the federal decisions are affecting us. But we're a state that it's struggling too. And we just, my encouragement is not to live in fear. Fear is really counterproductive. And I know a lot of people are living in fear and not donating to nonprofits. But I think if we can just step up and give out of faith, that as you serve others with, it could even be your time. We just sent out a huge email for volunteers. If you don't have the financial means, time, talents, treasures, you have a long way to go with 501c3s. But if you just live in fear, like, How is my giving going to be perceived? Or I maybe won't have enough money. I have enough money right now to give to them, but what if I won't in the future? So I shouldn't give now. And just fear just paralyzes us to be effective in being our best and helping others in their time of need.
Amen. Fear's the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I just want to share an encouragement again, what a success story. We had a rather big case where there were a lot of John Does, and there was a civil suit, and one of the guys whom we helped in his teenage years came with a sizable donation out of his civil settlement and said, "You were there for my family when we needed you the most. Thank you."
Oh,
And that just is such a gift. And if a teenager can give out of what he had, I mean, how much more should we step up and give?
amen. And I love that too. Like if you can't afford to give your time, right? Or even, promote it, like share
On your social media.
share a post on your social media about saving Quarter Blue.
Yeah, that would be amazing, because it is a ripple effect. I can throw one pebble in. I can even try to throw multiple. But if I throw it in and someone takes another, and there's this ripple effect of multiple people speaking on our behalf, and on behalf of our clients who so desperately need advocates, whom they may never know.
I think we all need not necessarily an advocate, but a therapist. I think we can all benefit from a little healing of.
Oh, absolutely. Because it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, is the way in which we grew up is the only thing we know. And sometimes it's time to create a new normal. And we don't know where, we act in a manner which is directly affected by nurture. And it's not until we're exposed to another way that we go, oh, I can do it differently and maybe have a more favorable life or impact. So no, it's always good to have a sounding board, whether it be a life coach or a therapist, and just see what is our normal that maybe is not the healthiest normal.
Amen. Oh gosh, I just love what you're doing. I think you're amazing. I think your organization, therapy center, is fantastic, and we need to keep it going to help people.
Our staff right now is amazing, and they're specialists in hearing the toughest things in life, and yet being able to wipe their feet and go home and just know that they've done their work and poured the best of them into people. And I want to keep them. I don't want to lose them, because victims of crime absolutely need them.
Wow. Well, I'm going to pray for all of you and come alongside you to support you. And that's why I brought you on, so we can spread the word and just highlight what an amazing person that you are. And I love that you're doing God's work and helping victims of crime. And if there's anything that I can do to help, I would love to. And
Well, I'm going to be looking at your social media to see if you were the ripple effect on your end.
if I'm posting,
If you threw a pebble.
okay, check it out.
Accountability, girl.
Yeah, I better put it out there, because Martha's coming for me. I might be.
You're going to look and say,
crime.
"Do you forget to do something?" And Peter, I'm going to take yours too. And I'm going to, hey, I didn't see a Quarter Blue on yours.
We're on it.
Social media. No, just playing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and shining a light on this somewhat dark topic, but it's not dark, it's light, because you're in it and you're shining your light, and it's shining bright, and I love it. And if you want to read Martha's book, it's called My Secret Life. You can get that at aquarterblue.org. And you can also get a t-shirt to save a quarter blue. And yeah, and you know what? If you can't come alongside this particular trauma center, you can help in your own way by being a light for other people and finding your purpose and doing wonderful things to help other people. So thank you so much. And I think that's a wrap. So we're out of time. And if you want to help Martha, don't forget to do that. And until we meet again, if you can't find the light, be the light like Martha Wade. So long now.
Be the light, shine so bright.